All right, folks, welcome back to another exploded figure review. Today we are looking at the Mythic Legions figure Conabus. This is one of the horse mounts in the line, and it's actually the mount for one of the Dark Four, Necronominus himself. So let's take a look and see what we got.
You best get ready, cause now it's time for Art by Ackerman.
All right, here we go. So this is the exploded view of this figure. This is one of the horse mounts. I've actually never taken one of these apart all the way from start to finish. So I believe I've got all the parts apart that will come apart, but if anybody has other pieces that you see that could have come apart that I didn't hit, let me know in the comments. Starting out, you have the head of the horse. So this is the kind of skeleton horse head that we've got here. A little bit lighter on the teeth. You got that bone color that we've seen on the other figures in this wave on the rest of it. A little bit of wash in the eye. Some nice sculpted details with these cracks and stuff along the skull. But yeah, really cool piece there. Then going down into this neck piece, you know, this would be kind of like this on the horse, but you know, this is a little bit more of a flexible plastic. It is thick, but it is more of a flexible plastic, especially when you heat it up. And then at the end, this is a little bit harder here with a ball joint inside here, and that's where the head attaches and kind of moves around. So one thing with this piece, I don't have any kind of swaps planned for it, but just something that I thought was kind of neat. I'm sure that you're gonna have some people like Nate Armstrong do some crazy things with this, but like you could, for instance, put like a head on here, and it's not gonna stay on, but just kind of create this like weird alien neck on, like if you had a figure kind of standing here and this like was coming off of it. So you could use this as a neck for kind of an alien. Now how you get to attach would be interesting, but yeah, just kind of a neat little piece here. There is some armor that goes over top of this. We'll cover that in a second. We're gonna cover the body first. So then going down into the actual body itself, you've got this here. And you know, before this wave was revealed, there was a lot of talk about, you know, will they do a skeletal horse? And a lot of folks thought, you know, maybe we'll get a leg or two, but there's no way they're gonna do like a full out, you know, skeleton, like rib cage and all this and that. And sure enough, they did it. This thing is really interesting. So you've got this kind of flexible plastic rib cage. Now, this part, even though it's not a pop and swap, it's one of those parts that's kind of like tacked in with glue. So this would come off, but I didn't want to pull this off because I don't know how easily that's going to come off and go back together. But not really a pop and swap piece. But if you did just, let's say, want this rib cage for, let's say, a custom, like a Dio or something like that, you could definitely do that. So looks like I got a bent rib here, and I don't know if it's supposed to be that way. Interesting. Might have happened while I was heating this up. I'm not sure. I'll have to take a look at some pictures and see if that's supposed to be like that or not. But you've got these front leg attachments. You know, that's where your front legs go into. And then on the back, there is a part here. Now, if you heat this up, I did notice that this like barbell will pull out, but it did look like it was starting to kind of stretch the plastic here, and a little worried about, you know, if that's going to do some permanent damage or go back in correctly. So I didn't pull that out all the way, but it does look like you could get that to come out if you wanted to. So, and then along here, you've got a lot of cracks and just different things. You've got this kind of darker, like brownish, blackish material, you know, for, I guess, muscle and whatnot. And then on the inside of the rib cage, you've got some other goodness in there, you know, maybe some internal stuff that's kind of decayed and looking kind of nasty. But all in all, this is just really cool. I love all the spines here. The rib cage is cool. Yeah, the way they did this is really nice. And then this big ball pops into that neck. So that's where your neck attaches and then goes into the head. So So that's the main body. And then you've got your front set of legs here. So this is where that comes off here, goes into this leg. This is the upper part, which then goes down into the lower leg, and then finally into the hoof itself. All of it has that kind of bone color all the way through with a little bit of a wash on it. We've got that same kind of color that we've seen on some of the other pieces. I would say the only critique I would have on this part is I think that the hooves could have been a little bit like dirtier, nastier, and I don't know that that would necessarily be the same color as the rest of the bone. But I don't know, I'm not a horse expert, but it just feels like the hoof should be a little bit darker, either from the color of the hoof itself or even just from like dirt and stuff from riding along. So there's that. And then on the back legs, so you've got this attachment here for this barbell, which goes into this big piece here. So this pops onto here, that gives that kind of upper, part of this back leg, which then goes into this point that connects to this. So this is the kind of lower upper leg. So you got the upper leg, lower upper leg. Then that goes into the lower part and then down into the hoof there. So the front part, because it already starts with this peg coming down, only has 3 sections. The back part has this big piece, this one, and this one. So it has 4 pieces for the back legs, 3 pieces for the front legs. And then on the very back, you have this tail that plugs in with some of this wrap around the top, a little bit of metal plating with a couple gold rivets. And then that just plugs into the back right here. So that is the body of this. Okay, going down into some of the armor. So first on the head, you have this like bone armor that goes over the head here. So it gives you this little ornate bone design. Got a bunch of bones around here, a little skull in the middle, with the leather straps and the little kind of tiny bone and the ornate piece here. Some like, it looks like jawbones maybe, or something that is used as almost like tusk in the front here. And then that goes into the reins that you'll use to steer the horse. It also has this like plated armor piece that goes on the back. It looks like it's got some like darker bones underneath of this. And so that plugs into the back of that neck, and that'll be like this kind of as an armor piece. So that is the head armor. And then moving down, you've got the saddle, which has this back armor that plugs into this. So there's 2 pegs here, peg holes there, and 2 pegs on the back of this back armor that just pop in like that. So that goes over the rear end of the horse. And then for underneath the saddle, you have this skirt, and there are 2 pegs under here. There's 2 holes on the skirt piece, and that just plugs into each other like so. So that just goes like that, and that goes on the back of the horse. Then you have your stirrups. The stirrups plug up in this bigger hole up here at the top, and then hang down for the feet. And then you have this cinch strap that holds to the bottom. Now, one thing on this strap, it does have a bigger peg and a smaller peg, so it will only go in one way. The bigger peg goes in on this side, and you will see that's the one that has the buckle on it. And then the smaller peg goes in over on the other side and does not have a buckle on that side. So that's how that works, and that holds it to the body and keeps it in place. Also, you've got this armor that goes around the neck of the horse. So this basically goes like this. So you can see this is what it looks like from the side. A little bit of kind of some ornate details here with some rivets. You've got some brown leather with some darker, you know, like black leather on it, some silver rivets, some chains. As you turn to look at the front, you've got, you know, a little skull that's, at least on mine, it's painted gold up top, but with a silver jaw. And then, you know, like I said, you got that chain painting here. Down into these, you got a bigger bone here, a couple smaller bones, a little skull here in the front. So yeah, that's kind of what that looks like. So that really is everything on here. That is all of the parts that make up the horse and the armor pieces. The only last thing that we've got here is these shields. So it comes with 2 of these shields that can hang from the sides. And one nice piece about this it's brand new is this little piece right here. So this is, instead of a shield handle, this is something that plugs into the same spot as the normal shield has, the normal peg, but it will slide onto like a strap to hold it really close to the body. They could have just given us the regular shield handles and we could have slid that on there, but it would have left a big gap between the horse and the shield itself. So I really like the addition of this. And this is going to be nice for the back of figures too. So I've actually already taken, you know, this figure here that we were using when we were doing the Maxilius review. I've put one of these attachments on one of these straps in the back. And so then you can see when you plug the shield in there, it gives it a real close to the body look where it's holding that shield close to him. And I think that looks really nice. So this new piece will be great for that, as far as, you know, keeping that shield on the back and just looking really neat without kind of using the normal shield handle and putting it on there and having so much space on the back of that. I did a couple swaps with these things, which I'll show you in a bit. But before we do that, I think it's time for what we call fast motion. And that's where we take this figure and in fast time, we put it all back together so you guys can see what that looks like, but it's sped up so you don't have to sit here and watch me do this over a long period of time. So without further ado, here comes fast motion. Okay, had to stop fast motion for a second because I've got a loose joint here and I'm just gonna try to fix this real quick. So I'm gonna take, this is some heat shrink tubing. So this is a box of my heat shrink tubing that I use. There you go. And I'm just grabbing one that will slide over this peg, and then I'm gonna cut it down. So go right about there, cut that thing down. So I can cut a little bit more off of there. And then I'm just gonna heat this up real quick. So that will form to the peg and it'll make it just a little bit thicker. And then when I pop that in, that should give me a little bit more hold to where it's not as loose. But with this, when you heat this up, it gets really soft and malleable. And then after you let it sit for a while, it'll kind of harden back up a little bit. So I'm gonna let this sit for a couple minutes and then I'll return. All right, so we've let that cool down. This is ready to go. So here we go with more fast motion. Okay, so this is a look at the finished Conabus put back together. It was a little bit of a chore, I gotta admit, because I'm not as familiar with you know, taking apart and putting these horses back together as much as I am you know, the figures themselves. So it was a little bit of a challenge. So in looking at some pictures that I had taken earlier, I'll show it here with the in package. You can see this rib that was bent. It looks like it was like that out of package. But as I look at the shots on their website, it does not look like that's supposed to be like that. So I may try to heat this up and bend this back into place, but that's nothing I did throughout the process. It looks like it was like that before I even pulled it out of the packaging. Couple other things to note. Earlier when I was talking about this rear cinch, I had talked about using these lower pegs here to hold it in place, and that is what it came with initially, and that is what it looks like on the site. But I noticed if you plug it into these upper ones, it tends to hold that saddle in place a little bit better. So just something to note, that there is a second hole there that you can use that seems to work a little bit better. For the shields on the back, I did find that it's easier to kind of plug that shield piece, the holder on there first, because these straps are a little bit thick, and then pop the shield in after you've got that in place. And then one last note, this part that, like the armor part that goes into the back here, it does not really want to stay. There's like nothing on the peg. Like it doesn't, a lot of pegs will have like an expanded part at the end so that it kind of locks in place. This doesn't really lock in place. So if you really want this to stay there permanently, you may want to just add a little bit of glue there to kind of tack that in. Just keep in mind, once you glue it, that's, you know, pretty much permanent. You could use like hot glue or something. That way you could still pull it off if you needed to, but I may just put a little dab of glue in there just to kind of hold that steady. But overall, this is what the figure looks like then once it's, you know, all pieced together. It is really interesting, really cool piece. Real quickly, I was going to show this with the rib cage here. So basically what I'm doing to, you know, try to get this rib back where it needs to go is I'm just heating it up with the heat gun like this. And then I'm just very gently just kind of stretching this back into the curve that I want it to have. I don't want it to curve forward. I want it to curve backwards. So I'm just kind of stretching it like this, holding it a little bit in place. And then, you know, trying to get it back to that shape that it should be in. So still got a little bit of a kink in it, but for the most part, you know, it looks better than what it was for sure. So that's that. All right, now let's take a look at some swaps. All right, so this one here is pretty simple. Just taking the Conabus body and then put the Shadow Equidron head on it, and then put that head piece back on it with the reins from the Conabus. So just adds a little bit kind of an undead look rather than the full skeleton, to where you've got a little bit of skin and stuff there. So it's a pretty quick and easy one. And this next one is just really the opposite of that. So here I've given that neck piece and head from Conabus to the Shadow Equidron, just to add a little bit of that kind of witch doctor-y look and kind of the skeleton head rather than the undead horse head. All right, in this last one here, I just took that head armor from the Conabus and I'm using that on the chest of this orc shaman. It doesn't fit ideally. It's, you know, something that I would probably slice it up a little bit and make it fit a little bit better. But didn't want to do that here just for kind of a swap for a video. But definitely some cool pieces that you can use on this figure in other customs. All right, folks, that is my review of Conabus. Conabus? I don't know, but this thing is awesome. You know, it's quite a feat of engineering. I didn't honestly think that they would do a skeletal horse at first, but they did a great job on this. I know Eric did a lot of research on this wave on human anatomy, horse anatomy, just bones in general, and this thing is just fantastic. It's a great horse in and of itself. You know, obviously a horse for Necronominus from the Dark Four, but it's also got just so many great pieces and bones, and I could definitely see people using parts of this for dios, for customs, for all kinds of stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, somebody just takes all the skeletons from this wave, Necronominus and Maxilius and this and the Trapiculae, and just breaks them up into a whole bunch of pile of the bones and sees what they can come up with. We're going to see some really creative stuff, but it's a great figure on its own. It's got great parts. You definitely need to pick one up. If you haven't yet, it is available at retailers. You all know my favorite retailer is Wolf King Customs. If you go to wolfkingcustoms.com and you pick up this horse, you will get a bonus custom head to go with it. What kind of custom head would they put with a skeletal horse? The first one we've ever had? I don't know, but hopefully we find out soon. Hopefully you pick one up from them and you get to see that custom head. You get to, you know, paint it up and put it on there and have some fun. So if you liked this video, I do have a playlist on the channel for my exploded figure reviews. I know I put out a lot of content. Maybe you can't catch it all. Maybe you don't even like it all. But if you like these reviews, there is a playlist that you can go to that just has these reviews. So maybe that'll make it easier for you. If you did like it, please throw out a like on there and give me a comment. Let me know what you did or did not like about the video, what I should do or shouldn't do going forward. I'm always taking any kind of feedback from you folks. So hope you grab this figure. Hope you do something really cool with it. And until next time, folks, keep creating. That the horsemen were going to do a skeletal horse, but this is quite the feat of engineering. You know, I know Eric did a lot of research. Thanks, buddy. Walking right through. When you buy this horse from Mythic, or from wow.